Okay, everybody. Right here is a figured bass, densely packed with harmonic goodness. All right, so we know we're in the key of G minor, although that doesn't really matter because we're just reading numbers right now. All right, so I have given you the first chord. We have a variety of symbols here. Okay, so first chord's given to you, right? Right here, 4-2. We know that 4-2 means 6-4-2, and that the plus on the 4 means the 4 is raised a half step. All right, so a 2 above the bass, above F, is a G. There's a common tone. A fourth above the bass F is B. That's a common tone right here. And the slash through it means this has to be a B natural. And the 6 above the bass, which we don't list here, but is just left out for shorthand, is D. So, very smooth motion. Okay, you can kind of hear where that's going. So that chord right there is, we got it. Right here, 6, of course, means 6-3. And above E flat, that's a G and a C. So we're going to a C chord. This B natural obviously is going to step up here. We can keep the G as a common tone. And you remember this is a first inversion chord right here. First inversion chord, we double whatever fits best in the specific context. So this could either go to an E flat or a C. Let's reserve judgment on that until we see where we have to go next. All right, so this next chord has a 6, a 4, and a 3 above the bass. 3 above E is a G. Okay. 4 above the bass is A. And 6 above the bass is C. And that C has to be raised a half step to C sharp. So clearly we need to go here for the C sharp. All right, so the 6 is taken care of. We need a G and we need an A. It's very tempting to hold the G over right here, but then this voice would need to leap up to A, which from the E flat would not be good, and from the C would also not be good. And this C couldn't leap down to A because that would be too much space. Okay, so this voice can't go to A, but it can go to G. So we can take the G here, which means this G here has to step up to the A. Oh, and of course, we can't forget the sharp right here. That's the raised 6th scale degree above the bass. All right, so now if this voice goes from D to G, the E flat is a better pitch here, rather than going D down to C and then up to G. Okay, so now we're on this chord. If you look at this chord, you know that this chord is a 7th chord, right? And we can rearrange it in our head. It's A, C sharp, E, G. That means that this note right here is the 7th, and the 7th should resolve down. Okay, so let's, and of course the C sharp is going to resolve up. So we need a triad. There are no numbers here, which means it's a root position triad. We need a 5th and a 3rd. Okay, so here, there's the 5th above the bass. We know the 7th has to resolve down, and this 3rd has to be raised a half step. And then the C sharp resolves up to D. That gives us the proper doubling for this chord of 2 roots, a 3rd and a 5th, root position triad. This is really nice writing here. Do you see how this is going up chromatically? B flat, B, C, C sharp, D. While this steps down, it's not chromatic, although there's a little side step right here. G, F, E flat, E natural, D. Kind of interesting that we get the E flat and the C natural stepping up to the E natural and the C sharp. as this chord becomes the secondary dominant right here. Let's hear the first little bit of it. Yeah, awesome, right? Okay, so now we're on this chord, which is a D major triad. Let's just take a second and analyze the harmonies we've done so far. All right, so we know we're in the key of G minor. This is 1. Right here, this is chromatically altered. This is G, B, D, F. That's a major triad with a minor 7th. G is the 1 chord, and when you change a 1 chord into a secondary dominant, it goes to 4. Remember, 1, 4, 7, 3, 6, 2, 5, 1. 1 is the dominant of the 4 chord. So this is 5, 4, 2 of 4. 4 in the key of G minor is C. We would expect this to go to C, which it does. And this is a 4-2 with a 7th in the bass, so we'd expect it to go to first inversion. Right here, this is a chromatically altered chord. I see A, C sharp, E, G. That is an A7 chord. A major triad with a minor 7th, so that's a secondary dominant. That is a 5 of something. A is 2 in the key of G, and the chord that follows 2 in the diatonic circle of fifths progression is 5. This is 5, 4, 3 of 5, and we see it's going here to the 5 chord, which is the major 5 chord from harmonic minor. Now we're on the 5 chord, and do you remember that 4-2 means that it's a 7th chord with the 7th in the bass? Okay, so this is actually the same chord, it's just we add the 7th in the bass. But we can take a second and figure out that 4-2 means 6-4-2, and the plus on the 4 means that note above the bass is raised a half step. So what's a second above C? It's D, right? What is a 4th above C? C, D, E, F with a sharp on it is an F sharp, common tone. And what is the 6th above C? That's A. So the upper 3 voices are all common tones. This just steps down, adding in the 7th. And this is a D7 chord. It's a 5, 4, 2. We'd expect that to go to 1, 6, which is what the figure calls for. So remember, in this chord, the F sharp has to resolve up, the 7th resolves down. We're going to keep our common tone. And then this is a first inversion chord, so this note right here could either go to G or to B flat. Both of those work well. We want to see which one is a better choice given the chord that follows. All right, so this is a 6-5. 6-5 is short for 6-5-3. Okay, so what is a 6th above the bass? A 6th above B is D. Sorry, is G. Right? Let's try that again. Let's work up from the bottom. Okay. What is a 3rd above the bass? 3rd above the bass, B is D. Okay. What is a 5th above the bass? 5th above the bass is F. All right, so we know that we're going to need an F, and a 6th above the bass is a G. Okay, so in this spot right here, we're going to need a G, and we're going to need an F. So either way, it's better to go to G here, and one of the G's will tie over, and the other will step down. One will remain a G, and the other one will step to F. Let us keep the G here, because if we were to step down, there's the potential for these voices to collide. This keeps the space. If this steps down, it actually opens up space with the upper voices between soprano and alto. Now, right now, we've got D and F, G, and B. This is a chromatically altered chord, G, B, D, F. That is a G7 chord. Major triad, minor seventh. G7 is 1 in the key, G is 1 in the key of G. So a dominant chord built on 1 is going to be 5 of 4. Because 1 goes to 4, you make it a dominant, it becomes 5 of 4 to 4. So right here, this is a 5, 6, 5 of 4. And you see the leading tone goes up. The 7th will need to come down, and that's going to come to a 4 chord right here. This 4 chord is root position, so we need 2 roots, a 3rd and a 5th. Here's our 3rd. The 5th is a common tone. This will step down to give us the root. All right, now this spot right here, we haven't part written this, but I think you can do it. Okay, just the analysis might be tricky. So this is this is the newest concept we've learned. Okay, but 7 means 7, 5, 3. And the natural means that the 3rd of the bass will have a natural on it. Okay, so what is a 3rd above the bass note? C, D, E. It's going to be this E is the 3rd, and it has a natural in front of it, so we got to do that. What is a 5th above the bass? It's going to be G, C, D, E, F, G. And what is a 7th above the bass? C sharp, it's a B flat. Okay. We will come, I guess we're doing the harmony as we go along. So this chord, you can actually analyze right now. And we never specifically addressed resolving this chord, but you can see how it works. Let's take it to the next chord, then we'll come back and resolve it. Right here, we're going to 8 with a sharp under it. Okay, that just means a triad, right? 8 is sort of redundant. It's only there to tell you that we're stepping to a 7th on the 2nd beat. So this is a 5-3. This is a triad right here. Okay, DFA, and the 3rd above the bass is raised a half step. All right, so we need a 5th and we need a 3rd. This G can step down to the 3rd, F sharp. The 5th is A, so the B flat is going to step down to A. And we want to double the root of this chord, which will be D. When you look at this, you might think right there, that looks problematic because it's a 5th to a 5th. But this one right here is a diminished 5th, and this is a perfect 5th. So this is not parallel perfect 5ths. It's not the greatest thing to do similar motion into a 5th, but in this context, it's allowed. And sort of the rationale is that this fully diminished 7th chord is just such this ball of gooey, ooey, harmonic goodness that just slides into the chord it resolves into. It's so harmonically rich. It has 2 interlocking tritones. It's saturated with these minor thirds. Everything moves by step to resolve. That doesn't really stick out as problematic. And it's not parallel perfect 5ths, so we're good. Let's take it through to the end, and then we'll come back and analyze this chord, because you do know how to analyze this chord. This right here is D, F sharp, D, A, and do you see this tells you 8 going to 7, so this D needs to go to C. The A sustains, and the F sharp sustains. And then we go to this chord right here. Let's fill in the analysis up to this point. This is 5, and it becomes a 5-7. Do you remember in a 5-7, the 7th has to resolve down. The leading tone goes up, right? And this note is going to come here, and that gives us an incomplete 1 chord because we're following the voice leading from a complete 5-7. Okay, and then we'll talk about this optional little chromatic thing here in a second. This chord right here, okay? Pause the video and analyze it. okay? C sharp, E, G, B flat. What kind of chord is that? C sharp, E, G is a diminished triad. C sharp to B flat is a diminished 7. This is a C sharp, fully diminished 7 chord. All right, so that chord, C sharp, fully diminished 7, has to be acting as a 7 diminished 7 of something, as a secondary leading tone diminished 7th chord. C sharp is a leading tone to D. D is 5 in the key of G, so this is 7 diminished 7 of 5. And it goes to 5. We get the passing 7th. We resolve to the 1 chord. I want to play through this whole thing for you, and then we'll talk about the optional thing here at the end. Okay, so we've got 1, this becomes 5, 4, 2 of 4 to 4, and then we get 5, 4, 3 of 5 to 5, passing 7th in the bass, 5, 4, 2 to 1, 6. This 1, 6 becomes 5, 6, 5 of 4, and then we get this 7 diminished 7 of 5 to 5, passing 7th in the alto, and without the natural, we go to 1. Let me play the last 2 measures for you again. If I use the natural, the alto steps down to B natural instead. Okay? So if we have that, that's a B natural right there. This is the final chord of the piece. We don't want to call this a secondary dominant because it sounds like the ending. It just sounds like a major triad rather than a minor triad. And we can just call this the 1 chord. We just steal the 1 chord from the parallel major, G major. Okay. This particular thing, when you're in a minor piece and you end on the major third and the major chord, that's called a Picardy third. P-I-C-A-R-D-Y, Picardy third. Essentially, that's ending on the major third when you've been in a minor key. It's kind of like a little harmonic ray of sunshine at the end. Sometimes there's, this often happens in church music, and it has sort of a theological explanation sometimes. It's the salvation occurring at the end where, you know, the hope and the light of the major triad comes in after the struggle and suffering of what has come before. And I guess that's pretty fitting for to describe this dense, juicy, succulent figured bass here as including a lot of suffering. But damn, that suffering feels really good, doesn't it? Let's hear the whole thing. Really beautiful. All right, so there we go. There's a figured bass, chock full of secondary dominants and interesting voice leading. Lots of great sort of chromatic wedges going on. We got that one right here in the outer voices. While this one is descending, this one is doing a wedge. While this one's descending, this one's coming up. So it's lots of really fantastic voice leading going on here, if I do say so myself. All right, well, hopefully you found this helpful. More review videos are on the way.